I have no idea why I live in a world where people don't understand your blatant stupidity could get you in some form of legal trouble, especially when you're trying to pin something on other people. Because if you don't remember, there was all these months ago, or if not a few years ago, where a bunch of college kids, unfortunately, were taken from this world because of a murderer. And ever since then, they found the murderer. They're in the process of locking him up for a long time, if he's not already locked up for a long time. But somewhere in the middle, people wanted answers because they weren't getting any in an adequate amount of time, because investigating is not as trendy and cool as people on TikTok make it out to be. And one lone hero decided to solve the case, and we called her the TikTok psychic, who thought that she could have psychic readings and figure out who did it. And she pinned the entire thing on a professor at the university. She then sued for defamation, and ever since, this bitch has tried her luck at trying to game the legal system to prove her innocence and prove her psychic readings were actually of note, and it hasn't worked out, and it ain't been going well for her ever since. True crime TikToker held liable for false statements against UI professor. True crime TikToker said that she showed no ill will in declaring a University Idaho professor was involved in the King Road homicides, despite a judge ruling that she damaged the reputation of the faculty member. I don't have to read any further, because if you watch those TikToks, this bitch is blatantly putting this woman at the foot of the crime. And then, because the heat was on her just a little bit too much, she went from blatantly saying she did it to saying, she orchestrated it.
Also, why does she need 3 lawyers for me?
To sue you.
This is the teacher who potentially had the 4 Idaho students killed. She's the one who ordered the execution. As you can see from here, she may have been a part of LGBTQ community, and she may have dated Kaylee, or wanted to. Brief synopsis of who killed the University of Idaho college students and why. Their murder was ordered by Rebecca Schofield. Her targets were Kaylee and Madison. Rebecca was highly interested in Kaylee. She spent a lot of time fantasizing and thinking about her. They may have had some sort of fling. But ultimately, because of stubbornness and inability to see eye to eye, they broke it off. When they broke it off, Kaylee and Madison was seen together, and Rebecca did not like this because she felt that it could cause her trouble. She could get snitched on for dating a student. She was so consumed and worried about losing respect, admiration, and her possessions that she hired the killer to carry out the murder. The killer did it simply for money and to be back into school and so that he can finish his studies. He was previously in trouble and maybe kicked out.
Which both of those turned out to be a crock of shit. In an interview with the Argonaut, TikToker Ashley Gouliard maintained she was only seeking to help the investigation into the slayings and that she did not intentionally publish false information about Rebecca Schofield. Schofield's team have not proved that I made an intentional false statement, and Idaho defamation implies ill intent, and trying to help solve a murder case is not ill intent.
I served it, but I'm actually gleaming with excitement. I am going to immediately start planning because I cannot wait to present my ideas in court regarding Rebecca Schofield and her role in the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. How she planned it, how it was her initial idea, how she hijacked the court, how she enticed him and energized him and got him ready to kill his own best friend. Since they have the inability to understand it, I'm glad it can.
Madam, I don't mean to be the bearer of any bad news, but I need you to understand that you are not an investigator. I don't even think you work for the police. You are, by every stretch of the imagination, random TikToker. And as a random TikToker, you don't have the jurisdiction, the leeway, or the education to start pointing a finger at anybody in regards to who could have done anything. And when you do blatantly do that, you're putting in some ill intent. What's the ill intent? Accusing them of murdering people, or accusing someone of orchestrating the murder because of some fictitious love triangle because you were bored and you ain't had nothing to do and you started rubbing the ash on your fucking skin to let you try to figure out in real time who is going to be the person behind said thing. Gilliard's only evidence came from the claircognizant practices, which relied solely on tarot card readings of the victims in UI faculty, as well as Gilead's own intuition. After ignoring a cease and desist letter from Schofield, Gilead continued to make false and defaming claims, bringing the lawsuit to federal court. I think for sure the fact that Kohlberger pleaded guilty and has been sentenced shuts down any entirely speculative assertions she could have made that would change anything. And of course, that is what happened. And if there's anything else in terms of an update, come February of 2026, we're going to a jury trial to determine punitive damages. And listen, do I think this woman should be going to jail for this? Absolutely not. But you know what? If you want to charge her with a fine of like a couple $100,000, I would be perfectly okay with that, because we need to set a standard for online discourse when it comes to actual ongoing investigations into missing people or dead bodies or any other thing that involves people investigating. These random speculations broadcasted by people who don't have a crumb of information but swear to God if you just say at the end of it, it somehow warrants anybody to actually think about what's actually being said versus actually what's being done. And in this case, this woman was banking on a random woman at that school being a murderer, and all the evidence that's come out after proved to be an absolute fucking lie. So for that, I believe you deserve a little bit of a penance that involves the financial. And hold on, I'm getting a psychic reading. What's it? Whoa, what's this? Oh, a fork from Raising Cane's of all places. I wonder what could that possibly mean in the grand scheme. Oh, they're gonna start feeding you your own tube socks as you sit there struggling to pay for anything, as you paying that woman back for all the fucking time you wasted trying to bank her for being a murderer. And with that, I bid you all good day and adieu. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all in the next one. Mwah. Goodbye.